Hello everybody and welcome to another Walking Dead video, and today we will be talking about The Walking Dead Season 11 and Virgil, to be specific, and where he is and the lack of Virgil, because we haven't seen him for a while, and this is one of many characters we have not seen in The Walking Dead Season 11 and that have disappeared. So the last time we have seen Virgil was Season 11 of The Walking Dead and episode 8 with his scene with Judith, but since then we've had time jumps and 6 months have passed and still no Virgil. We have literally no confirmation on what's happened to Virgil, if he's out of the show, if the actor left or not. This is all up in the air and all up to us of what has happened to Virgil. And in today's video I just want to talk about what I think's happened to Virgil, what all the options are, and what I think's the most likely. So I feel like Virgil's story's over. His purpose in the show was to get rid of Michonne and bring Connie back, and now that that's happened and The Walking Dead doesn't have much story arcs left with many characters, Virgil has just been dumped by the wayside like so many other characters. But what is his ending? It's like Luke again, but we have some sort of confirmation with Luke. We haven't seen him, but we know he's at Oceanside, and we know Oceanside's probably dead. So let's kind of use the information we have and kind of come up to a solid conclusion of Virgil's fate. So first of all, we have the option that Virgil bled out and died. However, I feel like this is the least likely because Virgil could have died in episode 6. He had massive wounds, but I feel like that isn't a death. Virgil was still around because we would have seen his death. There's no point of just getting rid of Virgil because he survived the events of episode 6 to suddenly die off screen. So Virgil's alive. We have 3 other options. 2 of them are very similar, and I'm going to do them 2 together. So this one, I believe, is the most likely, is that Virgil actually still lives in Alexandria. And we haven't seen him because we have no characters at Alexandria, so what's the point of having an episode focused on Alexandria? The only real time we've seen Alexandria since the start of the Commonwealth arc was when Pamela went there with Daryl and we met Aaron, but they immediately left. We have barely spent any time at Alexandria, and that's probably why we haven't seen a lot of characters that were very background characters. It's because they all currently live in Alexandria, and that's why we haven't seen them. However, I believe this one is equally as likely, so that's why I do them together, is that Virgil lives in the Commonwealth. And as the Commonwealth is a group of 50,000 people, of course we're not going to see Virgil. That is a whole city. And we're not going to see the whole city. We're only focusing on one small side of the city. We're focusing on one little kind of square in the way for the Commonwealth. So it makes no sense to see Virgil if we're focused on one area, if he's on the other side. I feel like this one's more likely because if he's in Alexandria, we'll probably see him again. And I feel like we will not see Virgil again. His purpose is done. So the most kind of common sense ending for Virgil is he just agreed to go to the Commonwealth, and he now lives and works at the Commonwealth. Probably nowhere near any of our groups. A lot of our groups are centered near the center, I feel like, because they have this big kind of big building like the train station, which is where all the government is. I feel like Virgil's probably on the outside doing a normal basic job, and he's living somewhere in the Commonwealth, and that's the most likely option. The final option is very simple, that Virgil just left and went off to go on himself again. However, I feel like this is the least likely. I feel like killing him is more likely than this, just because we could have had this ending with Virgil in season 10. However, he chose to find people, chose to be with people and spend time with them instead of spending time by himself, taking drugs and crying about his family. That's him moving on. I don't think they'll regress his character. So this is the least likely, and I definitely think out of the 4 options so far, it's definitely he is either in Alexandria and we'll see him again, or more likely he's just living in the Commonwealth and that's why we don't see him. And that is all. So please tell me down below, what did you think about my ideas? Do you agree with my ideas that he is going to live in Commonwealth and that's why we don't see him, or he is living in Alexandria? Please tell me, out of the 4 options, which one you believe is the most likely. And if you believe there's a 5th option, please tell me down below also. But this is it for me today, and if you want more Walking Dead content, make sure to look on the screen. You'll find something else you like, and if you want to keep up to all things Walking Dead, I recommend you subscribe to this channel, which is forever growing because I upload 2 videos every week, and you'll be always up to date with Walking Dead. And make sure to like to help out my channel. But this is it for me today, so goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you at a later date.